Space Penguin.
From perfectly carved paths to annoying repetitive NPCs, these are many things that can ruin a gamer's experience. These are 20 of the worst things in gaming that we wish would just go away.
Number 20. Ghost Player.
There's nothing weirder than playing a game, looking down and finding out you have no feet, or looking into a mirror only to realize you're actually a vampire. It might not really be a problem for FPS games, but for modern storytelling games, immersion is everything.
Number 19. Jumpscares.
Don't worry, there won't be any jump scares in this review, but nearly every horror game has them. Much like horror movies, the best games utilize conventions like music, lighting, sound effects, and tone to create an eerie suspense. Jump scares are a cheap way to make the player react, and they don't really scare so much as startle the player by making sudden noises. When your game has the same effect as a fire alarm, you know you've done something wrong.
Number 18. DLC.
I remember the days of physical games, when studios would release expansion packs with so much content they were almost standalone games. Today, however, DLC is usually slang for give us more money, which not only makes gamers spend more, it encourages developers to release unfinished games.
Number 17. Unfinished games.
Unfinished games are becoming a new trend in the gaming world. It typically happens when developers aren't given enough time to finish a game, or if they want to release the rest of it as DLC. But fear not, this problem can be solved if you, the consumer, speak with your wallet. Wait for reviews of the game to come out and avoid pre-ordering them.
Number 16. Exclusive content.
Perhaps one of the only motivations to pre-order games. Gamers are promised exclusive content that they otherwise have no access to. But whether it's a custom skin or mission, exclusive content is always the prize in some marketing ploy. Buy it on Xbox, get a red hat. Buy it on PlayStation, get a blue hat. Buy a can of Mountain Dew to continue the mission.
Number 15. Pay to win.
The hellspawn of mobile gaming, pay-to-win and freemium games put you in a severe disadvantage unless you're willing to pay real money for upgrades. It's getting to the point where individual items are costing upwards of $100, playing a single game can cost thousands, and people with gambling addictions have a brand new way to ruin their lives. This income flow allows developers to aggressively market their games to claim more victims.
Number 14. Interactive cutscenes.
What is it about a cinematic climax that makes games turn into Flappy Bird? While it looks amazing, these cutscenes take all the fun and skill out of what could have been a great moment in the game. This is what happens when developers have a cool idea but they don't know how to translate it into the mechanics of the game, so instead they just ask you to press the play button. If I wanted to play a game where I quickly press one button, I'd play Cookie Clicker.
Number 13. Perfect paths.
We've all played one of those games that gives the illusion of an immersive world, only to have random objects blocking every side path and walls with doors painted on. This is especially bad during action chase scenes that basically tell you where to go. Nobody wants to play a game that feels like they're on a haunted house ride. At the very least, make the obstacles realistic instead of random rubble or a small tree.
Number 12. Lag.
Lag in a game can be the difference between winning and losing a game, especially in online play. This one hits close to home. You see, I live on a remote island south of the Indonesian coast called Australia, where our internet can be described as little to none. The fact that this video is uploaded is nothing short of a miracle. And while there are ways to restore balance to the game, it's not always perfect. I look to a day when people will not be judged by the lowness of their ping, but by the sharpness of their reflexes.
Number 11. Broken record NPCs.
NPCs are simultaneously the best and worst things in games. Their memorable catchphrases are iconic in gaming culture. However, even the most entertaining lines become insufferable when said for the 100th time. I mean, come on, all it takes is an extra day in the recording studio to add much more variety to NPC speeches.
Number 10. Same game, different year.
We all know the worst offenders when it comes to this. Studios release a game indistinguishable from the last, same story, same mechanics, same characters. Sometimes they'll hand a cheap gimmick to give to the marketing department.
Number 9. Conspiracy theories.
Here's an example of a good conspiracy theory. GLaDOS from Portal is Shell's mother. It's feasible, there's evidence to suggest that it's true, and it makes the story seem way cooler. But with every good conspiracy theory, you can be guaranteed that there are going to be hundreds of bad theories that not only go against evidence, they're absurd, they use obscure references unrelated to the game as evidence, and they generally distract from the original story.
Number 8. Useless money.
Every game starts off the same way. You look through the levels in every nook and cranny, making sure to get everything that fits in your inventory. It's only halfway through the game that you realize that those gems you collected do nothing more than feed your ego with a high score. The only game where I benefited from not spending any money was in Pokemon. Once I hit the Elite Four, I was loaded.
Number 7. Smeared screen.
Why do developers insist on making a game that looks like a baby smeared food all over the screen? Everything from the lens flare to useless obstacles to blood. While it adds to game immersion, it's hard to see what you're doing when half the screen is covered up. And unless you're wearing scuba goggles, that's not how it looks when blood gets in your eyes. Blood in eyes will completely blind you.
Number 6. One-dimensional characters.
A good character can be the source of entertainment for any game, to add depth, complexity, and comic relief to the story. With no story, you can be guaranteed that there won't be any characters either. Why spend time building lovable characters with complex backstories when we could just dig out of the box of stereotypes? Introducing the good guy, bad guy, and sidekick.
Number 5. Gesture-controlled games.
Possibly one of the worst tangents to happen to the video game industry is gesture-controlled games. Aimed at children and families, the games are usually simple, unresponsive, and require you to get up off the couch. Though some games are suited to the platform, some would have been much better with a plain old controller, and some must be buried forever.
Number 4. Minigames.
The answer to the question, how do I add more content to my game without putting in any creative effort, is simple: minigames. Unless they're tied in well with the story, minigames are usually in a separate menu and sometimes have nothing to do with the main story. They're typically used as fluff to get people hyped and talking about the game, but it's a good indicator that the developers were unsatisfied with the standalone product.
Number 3. Repetitive tasks.
A perfect example of quantity over quality. When a game repeats the same missions with small differences in setting, the game gets very boring very quickly. Usually tedious chores like go there to find item X and give this thing to that person. The purpose of games is to be entertaining, and unless I'm playing some kind of housework simulator game, I don't want to do boring, repetitive tasks.
Number 2. Exclusive games.
Every time a new generation of consoles comes out, I ask myself one hard question: which console do I buy? When I think I've made the right decision, suddenly the other guys come out with an awesome game exclusive to their console. Meanwhile, Nintendo has us stressing over buying the entire console just so we can play Mario Kart.
Number 1. Movie games.
Clearly an attempt at an extra cash grab, movie games are typically released at the same time as the movie, using its popular name as a selling point over any worthy content. They're typically short, simple, boring, and half the time they don't even use the actual voice actors. Though some movie games turn out to be spectacular gems, more often than not, they need to be locked away forever. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and follow me on Facebook and Twitter.